Hello, and welcome to the Winchester Archive Supernatural Podcast. I'm Ed,
I'm Brooke.
and today we'll be discussing our Season 1 wrap-up. We're done with Season 1. Woohoo!
Woo!
Then in this episode, we'll be discussing basically what we've seen so far, what we've learned, what we're looking forward to going forward, and that kind of fun stuff. But before we do, as always, quick spoiler warning. We'll be connecting dots from across the entire series, so if you're watching Supernatural for the first time or have not finished the series, this is your heads up. We will be discussing things, obviously, moving forward from here. Also, before we get going, this was a content warning. As always, we are adults talking about adult show that deals dark and sensitive topics. So, expect adult language, mature discussion, and dark humor. And also, you can find us on Upscrolled at Winchester Archives Pod, as well as on YouTube and Patreon at Winchester Archives Podcast. Please share, like, comment, subscribe, all the fun buttons and things, like us, rate us 5 stars, all that kind of stuff to help keep growing our community of archivists. We appreciate you very much.
Yeah, so let's, discuss a little bit about season 1 before we do all of our diving into it. Did you have anything from season 1 that, surprised you the most?
Yeah, I think the most surprising thing for me was just that Meg came into the frame so early. I really thought it was a later thing. I thought she was introduced in this season, like the first couple episodes where we like, ooh, something's weird with her. She just like slit this trucker's throat. I
Mhm.
knew that was the thing in like the early seasons, but I thought she recurred later on in the series, not so suddenly. So that was a
Yeah,
surprise for sure.
me too. I feel like these first 4 seasons, I have the timeline all mixed up.
Yeah,
I'm like, I swear Meg came in, like, 2 or 3, not
yeah,
season 1.
that's what I was thinking too. What about you? What
Um
surprised you the most?
I think the lack of John being around and the amount they talk about him. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if he wasn't around, that's fine, but they talk about him so much, it's like he's a main character without even being there.
Yeah.
So I
And then he's there for literally 3 episodes and then gets hit by a car and dies. Which is insane.
well, he's not dead yet.
Sure, but we learn early on in season 2 that, like, again, spoilers, that he goes away again very quickly. So I think it's weird that he was there for, like, 3 episodes and then now he's just gone again.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that's the most surprising to me. And also, I would say more mm, I'm trying to describe, the arc that stood out the most, and I think it has to do with John. Like, I know how they were raised was, the overarching arc of the whole story, but I think him showing up for the last 3 episodes, that
Mhm.
arc was the most substantial piece
And, like,
of
the
the
whole
whole
him going
season.
away for a bit and then, like, coming back and then going away and then coming back, like, just going back and forth like that or, like, not calling and then not calling and leaving a
Mhm.
voicemail and then not calling and then leaving their number on a voicemail, like, all this weird it's
Yeah.
just a very weird arc. It really is. And it's really
Mhm.
just, like, a matter of, like, contractual obligations and, like, him being an actor and having other gigs, like, that was the only issue that caused all of this, but it's really
Mhm.
weird how it ended up, like, showing up in the final product, I think.
Yes, and it works out with telling their tale of their dad being an inconsistent father,
No kidding.
and then he really shows it throughout their adulthood
Mhm.
as well.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, let's get into the timeline recap because I've been saying for episodes upon episodes now that we are going to talk about this.
Mhm.
So, just so everybody remembers from the mid-season check-in, I've based my timeline here off of dialogue and the props, logic, online resources, and my own notes to
Mhm.
kind of piece this all together. Episode 10 is where we left off for mid-season, and that is where the brothers left off in the first week of April of 2006.
Mhm.
And this time, I'm not going to go episode by episode. I did that for our mid-season, but it just feels clunky, so we're gonna just do, a quick overview of
For
it.
sure.
Yes. So, we have first week of April through early May, and this is where the Scarecrow episode takes place, where
Mhm.
Sam and Dean have, their first big fight and Sam meets Meg.
Mhm.
And then we have Faith. So that's where Dean almost dies and they fight the Reaper.
Mhm.
And this is also where we see like Sam's abilities escalating more and more.
Yeah.
And
Trying to get more and more visions and stuff like that.
yes. And then like you also see the dynamic shift from monster of the week episodes to more story,
Mhm.
and they have more consequences
Yeah,
to
they
what
have
they're
more
doing.
things to sink their teeth into as characters and stuff too, like more actual, like, story beats that recur.
Yes, exactly. So the back half of this season, a lot of stuff was introduced, like, right away.
Yeah.
And then we get into late May, and that's when we have Shadow, where, we see Meg again, and Sam climbs that, like, elevator rafter and is able to hold on forever, and we see
Yes.
John again.
The upper body and grip strength of a god.
Yes. And the yellow-eyed demon stops being, like, background motivation and actually becomes, like, an immediate threat to
Mhm.
everybody. The big bad is introduced.
Yes. Finally.
Yeah. So, basically, I notated here, in my opinion, this is where season 1 stops feeling episodic, and you actually the story arc becomes the main focus of the story.
Correct. I agree.
Yeah, they did a lot of world building, and now we're getting to, like, the meat and potatoes.
Mhm. Finally.
Yes. And then we're in June. That's where we have Hell House and Dead Man's Blood.
Mhm.
And Dead Man's Blood is the vampire episode.
Yeah, where they get the cult.
Yes. The only thing that still bothers me, and I mentioned it in this episode, that this is where the episode Something Wicked fits. And Sam is like, why aren't any kids on the playground? Because school is out. Okay, well, school should be out for the summer already because we're in June.
Mhm.
So I guess you could be like, why aren't kids on the playground because it's summertime, not because like school should be out of session already.
Mhm.
I don't know. That's a timeline inconsistency, but
Yeah.
nonetheless, there we are. And then the season ends in late July or early August. And, that's when we see possessions and the cult and the rescue attempts and Yellow Eyes comes out and then it
Mhm.
ends in their car crash. So season 1 overall spans over about 10 months. It's not even a full year yet.
It's still kinda crazy though that it's that long because it doesn't, like, necessarily
Mhm.
feel that long or, like, shows that long, in terms
Yeah,
of, like, when you're watching the episodes back to back, it doesn't really feel like time's jumping that far, but yeah, you're right, it is, like, about 10 months, so it's almost a year of them traveling and doing this stuff, which is crazy.
I know. Yeah, it's because it's like implied that they do cases in between episodes.
Yeah.
And then you have to take into account like their travel time 'cause they're
Yeah.
literally traveling from one end of the country to the other for these cases. They
Mhm.
can't just like stay in one area.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's like they're traveling like 3 to 5 days in between cases.
Oh, yeah, that's why it's probably like a once a week kinda thing almost, like, just like the episodes are,
Yeah, for
like, or
sure.
like a week every other week kinda thing.
So yeah, it just overall, I feel like the timeline fits. It's just, we know they were filming in Canada, and we know that when they were filming it weren't actually aligned with these months. So, yes, you can look at the background and be like, if it's supposed to be summer, why is it dark outside at 4
Yeah.
PM? Or why are they wearing jackets? Or like things like that. But we need to
They just
forgive
like to wear
those
jackets.
things. Yeah. We can forgive that stuff though, for the most part.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's our timeline update. Something Wicked, in my opinion, is the only one that's inconsistent. The rest are like fine
Yeah.
where it
I agree.
is. Did anything so nothing else felt like confusing or inconsistent to you with
No, not to
it?
me. I thought so far season 1 makes sense so far. Like, we've already gone through, like, the first half of the season and our mid-season one, and that all lined up
Mhm.
fairly well. There's a little bit of weirdness in there a little bit, but we kind of hammered it out enough. And then it kinda continues on to this, and nothing seems, like, very out of place. Like you said, that one line in Something Wicked is the only one that's a little like, "Hmm, that's a little weird," but even then, it
Yeah.
could just be them being unintelligent of how like the school systems work. Or, you know what I mean? Like they could just be like off a month or off a couple weeks and be like, oh, that's weird. But because it
That's
was still like
true.
early June, so it's like that's kind of when classes stop in the U.S. Like early, like first
Yeah,
week of June. Sometimes maybe they had a lot of winter days off. They had a lot of snow days they had to make up for,
that's
and we're in through
true.
through the end of June, through the
'Cause
beginning of June.
when we were growing up, school did go until, like, maybe the 2nd week of June. Now they try to be out before the end of May, so it is weird
Yeah.
how things have shifted.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, that's our timeline update. Now we can move on to our next section, which is yours.
Yes, the lore, the lore. So far, basically, well, I want to go up through what we did through the mid season too, because I think it's relevant to a later on statistic.
Okay.
So far through the mid season, like the first half of season one, we had 6 vengeful spirits or ghosts out of the 10 enemies possible, with the vengeful spirit from the Lady in White, the ghost in the lake, for that awful episode.
Oh my god.
Bloody Mary, and we had the Hook Man, we had the Poltergeist, and we had the Doctor in like the asylum.
Okay.
Um, so we had a
Good
ton of
episode.
vengeful spirits. Then we had 2 monsters, the Wendigo and the Shapeshifter, which yep makes sense. We had one demon on the plane in
Mhm.
the first half, and we had one non entity, I guess, with all the curses and the bugs. So that's basically where we stood out. We had six ghosts, 2 enemies, one demon, one other, right? So now going into
Wait a
the
minute.
hmm,
Wait. Why does the lake get the awful episode comment, but Bugs does not?
bugs is also awful, but I just
Where the
don't like the lake.
spiders are clearly plastic.
Yes, but I don't like the lake episode more. Bugs, at least I can make fun of it. The lake one is just bad. Anyway, so then in the new seasons here, or in the new later half of the season one, we have a little bit of a different breakdown. We had 3 demons. One being in shadow, we had Meg, and then the Devas, which are we went over that in the Deva episode. That Devas are basically just another name for demons, like proto demons from history.
Mhm.
So demons. And then in episode 21, we had Salvation, which had demons in it, which were the demons basically coming back and basically capturing everyone, doing all that fun stuff and possessing
Mhm.
people. Then we had episode 22, Devil's Trap, which we had the demons and Azazel. So 3 demons. Then we had 3 more vengeful spirits because of course we did. On Route 66 or 666, we had the Ghost Truck. We had Providence, which had a vengeful spirit in it. And then we had Hell House, which was a fake vengeful spirit. So it's like technically
Mhm.
3 vengeful spirits, even though one of them's kind of fake, but kind of
Yeah.
real. So I lumped that in there because it was like close enough.
Yeah, I think that's where it goes to.
We had 2 monsters, something wicked. We had the Strigas, or the evil witch. And then episode 20, we had Dead Man's Blood, which was vampires. Then, weirdly enough, we also had 2 humans, like just regular ass people. Well,
Wow,
I guess they're not regular ass people, but they're definitely people.
I
We
didn't
had
even think of that.
Nightmare, where we had the psychic kid, which is just a kid that was psychic.
Mhm.
And then we had the Benders, which were just fucking psychopaths that
Including
lived
the
in
creepy little girl.
yes, including the creepy little girl. But it's just weird that it was just like, oh yeah, these are just people in the show called Supernatural.
Yeah.
And then we had 2 that I put in other. One of which was the Scarecrow, that was a pagan deity. Like I feel like that's a more of an other than any of the other things. It's not really a monster because it's a god.
Mhm.
And then I put the Reaper from Faith in there as well because it's not a demon or a ghost or anything. It's a Reaper. It's a different thing. And I wouldn't really call Reapers monsters because like a little different.
Yeah, I agree.
So overall for season one, we had 22 episodes.
Mhm.
You want to take a stab at how many were like breakdown wise? I mean, like you can just add up the numbers, but do you want to guess how many vengeful spirits we had?
I wanna say, because I didn't add them up when you were talking about it, so, like,
Hmm.
11.
Not quite. 9. We had
Oh,
9 vengeful spirits.
I was like, half of them were probably vengeful spirits, but close.
Yeah. Episode 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 10, 13, 19, and 17 were all ghosts.
That's still a lot.
Yes, I did the math. 40% of
And
these episodes was vengeful spirits. 40%, almost half.
and then it goes back to the Benders episode, I will never get over this, when Dean says, like, "Demons I get, humans I don't, because it's like, you don't get demons either. You get spirits?
Yeah. Because fun fact, they've had 4 demons. The first one on the plane, and then only the ones involving Meg afterwards.
Yeah." Like, and on that plane episode, they didn't really understand demons because Dean even said, like, "This is above our pay grade. This isn't
Oh,
us."
yeah. That's why it's hilarious that he's like that line, it just makes no sense because they fought 1
Yeah,
before then.
right.
And
Uh,
then 4 out of the 22 were monsters with the Wendigo, the Shapeshifter, the Shrigas, and the vampires. 2 humans randomly. I'm curious to see in season 2. So I'm gonna keep a running tally of all of the monsters forever, and I
mhm.
wanna see how many more humans ever make the list. 'Cause I'm curious if they ever go back to just people. I don't know if they do really.
I know of one more episode, at least
Interesting.
one. So,
And then I put 3 in other with bugs, scarecrow, and faith. The pagan deity, the reaper, and bugs, the curse.
oh,
But yeah, 40% is vengeful spirits, which is nuts.
they have an episode, who knows what season it is, not me, where, they think it's a ghost, but it's actually a person who, like, lives behind the walls, so they're very pale and they look like a ghost, but then it, like, crosses their salt circle, and Dean or Sam is like, "Oh my god, it's a human."
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, I know that's coming up at some point.
But yeah, so that's the breakdown of season 1. Almost all ghosts, or at least almost
Yeah,
half ghosts. But still, it's kinda crazy how basically every other episode was ghosts
it
of
is,
some
but
type.
I feel like they do a good job at diversifying the types of ghosts.
100%. I think they do a great job of diversifying the ghosts and the hauntings to be different enough that it, like, makes it entertaining still, because it means they still gotta figure out the puzzle of what this one, like, how to
Mhm.
solve this one. Granted, the usually the solution is burning and salting the bones, but it's one of
That
those things where it's interesting still, like the like Route 66 666, where it was like a haunted car. Like, that's an
Mhm.
interesting take on it. Or like the Poltergeist where no entities are shown at all, like the one with her mom goes on fire.
Mhm.
Like that episode where it was just things flying around. It's like, that's cool. That's a different thing. Like, they did different things every time. Yeah, there was a couple, like, crossovers, like the girl painting and, like, the mirror one feel kinda similar to
Yeah.
me, but even
Yeah.
then, not really. They were different enough where it doesn't you don't notice it unless you're actively, like, breaking it down like we are, I think. Because even when I
Mhm.
rewatched it the most recent time before we started this podcast, I never noticed that. I never, like, caught my
Mhm.
attention, which I feel like it would've if they were not separated enough. I would be
Yeah.
able to pick up on that, but I never really did. It was just like, "Oh, ghost. Yeah, ghost. Makes sense." Or like, "Oh, poltergeist. Neat." You know? It was like
Mhm.
something different every time at least.
Yes, I agree, and I like the Tulpa, so on Hell House,
Yeah.
their fake vengeful spirit, that was a good take
I
on
always
it.
loved tulpas. Tulpas are fun.
They really are. Do we wanna get into our crime counter update?
Of course, we gotta see how much, under arrest these guys are.
A lot. So at mid-season, we had them sitting at about 73 years and 8 months, so almost 74 years.
Quite a bit.
And you actually made the prediction that they would have 150 years by the end of the season.
Yeah, right, I was.
Yes. Let's let's get into it. So I don't have it broken down episode by episode, but I do have it broken down by crime. So we have they did car theft, about 1.5 years worth of car thefts,
Mhm.
10 years for health insurance fraud, 3 to 4 years for professional impersonations of
Yeah.
various people.
Various people of authority.
Yeah. 5 years CDC impersonation. 10 years for arson because in Hell House, they
Mhm.
burned down the house.
Yep.
10 years for the painting theft and destruction in
Yeah.
the museum one.
With how valuable that is, probably like a felony to take those things.
Yes. Grave desecration for everything they dig up and salt
Always.
and burn. Evidence tampering, 5 years.
Because for some reason, they can't stay off of crime scenes or at least be careful in crime scenes, and it's really annoying.
Yeah. Every time they do a
Just stomping
B&E,
around in their dirty boots.
leaving their DNA everywhere.
Yeah, touching shit.
So additional B&Es slash pass trespassing, we have about 5 to 6 years.
Mhm.
And then just kind of like impersonations, we have another 1 to 2 years. So in the back half of this season, we have like 55 to 60 years-ish. So adding that to our 73 years, we're about at 133 years.
So close.
Yes, you were so close. Like,
That's still crazy 'cause it's, like, basically a lifetime and a half already, or a lifetime and a
yeah,
third.
and, like, sometimes I look at these and I'm like, "Are these even necessary to do the job that they're doing?"
Some of the things, no, for sure. Some of the things,
Yes.
yeah. Like, the Dave grave desecration, yeah, that's kind of, like, part and parcel with it. The random impersonating of other authority figures, probably not necessarily needed as much. The, like, credit card fraud, probably not needed as much. But some of the things, like breaking and entering even, like, I can kinda see make a case for that being important for them too.
But they could be, like, not evidence tampering
That's the part,
around.
yeah, that part needs to be that shouldn't be a thing. They should be in there with, like, full on bodysuits and, like,
And
gloves.
even with, like, the grave desecration, I feel like they should do some research to see if that's even what they need to do. Because you know how many times they dig up and then salt and burn something, and that's not even what fixes the problem? That happens a lot.
Yeah. But that's also, like I think it shows that they're, like, still new to this too,
Yeah.
because, like, that is, like, their first instinct is shoot it and also, like, salt and burn its bones. To be fair though, again, 40% of the time, it's the it's the solution.
But, like, the museum one with the painting, they already had pointed out the dolls from the children and
Yeah.
having human hair. We got a whole lore on this, and Dean still went and dug up the dad's grave and burnt his bones.
Yeah. It's well, I think that was just them assuming they can't be a kid, which is fair. You know, like, most people don't assume children can be this evil, and it's usually adults that are, right?
Yes. So they were already attacked by a small child in the benders.
You
So
know, true. That is valid. They probably should have already been assuming the kid's probably evil too.
who knows?
After that Bender chick, because like, that little girl was fucking horrifying. She did a great job. Like, I will commend that actor forever.
Yes.
She did such a good job at being creepy, and it's hard to be creepy, like, and be,
Well,
like, good at it, right? You can be
mhm,
creepy and be like, "Oh, that's the bad guy, that's the creepy person." But to, like,
mhm,
act in a way that, like, is, like, unsettling is different. And, like, certain
yeah,
people can just hit it. And that girl, great job. She nailed
agreed.
it.
Do you think that when they do these things, that they're even realizing that they're crimes when they do them?
No, I don't think they care. And I don't blame them either because their mission and their job is more important than a lot of these petty crimes, right? Because a lot of the crimes they're doing are like victimless crimes too.
Mhm,
Like they're not doing anything to anyone, right? They're like doing it to like property and to things. And I think that what they're doing is definitely more valuable than like these laws about like stealing or like breaking into a grave, like
mhm,
whatever, those are
yeah,
more just like general like treat other people with respect things, but, like, they are also helping save people's lives, and I feel like that trumps a lot of these petty crimes.
mhm,
Um, like, none of them feel severe enough to be like, "Wow, they really shouldn't have did that one," unless you consider, like, the people that they demons possess and they kill, like, murders. Like, that's, like, the one, like, gray area where it's like, "Ooh, that's not great." But also, what are you gonna do when you're gonna die? Like, they're threatening your life. You have to self-defense
yeah,
at a certain point. So it's just like a weird thing of like that's like the only kind of thing I could see being like too far. But even then, not really. Your life is in danger. They're like actively coming to kill you. So like you gotta defend yourself too. So like I don't know.
exactly, and I didn't include the demon murders in this because
Yeah.
I think I mentioned this on our last episode. It feels like too many assumptions for me
Mhm.
because, like, we don't know if the whatever the demon was doing with them already killed them before
Yeah.
Sam or Dean hits them with the Colt or the
Well,
knife or whatever.
literally Meg. Meg's the great example. Meg was dead. The
Yeah.
body and, like, the human of Meg was dead, basically, like, on the brink of death. The only thing keeping her alive was the demon, and once the demon's gone, she's gone. That's not their fault, right?
Yes.
And also it's, shown later in the series that demons and angels, when they get into a host, deteriorate the host to the point where
Mhm.
eventually they will expire, right? The person in there just goes away because they just, like, basically get rotted from the amount of power and energy that is these
And
demons
then
and
the
angels.
and then the angel or demon has to find another host.
Yeah. They have to find a new meat suit. So, yeah, like, it's
Yeah.
one of those things where we can't really make a claim like, "Oh, that guy that was shot by Dean, but the Colt, was that guy alive or not?" We have no way of knowing, right? So, it's, like, one of those weird things, we can't really consider that in our crimes, you know?
Yeah, and also if we did, it would be so hard to keep track of because at some point it happens a lot,
Yeah.
and also I really think it would inflate this number so high.
Yes.
It wouldn't even be realistic. So,
Mhm.
okay, let's move on to our episode recaps. So, our let's go with our lowest rated episode
Mhm.
first. We share a lowest rated episode, which is Bugs. And then you have an additional one that tied with Bugs, which was
Yeah.
Salvation. Bugs is unchanged from the mid-season,
Yeah. Bugs is bugs.
but Salvation is a new one for you. But our combined score for Bugs is 1.6, and then Salvation for you was 1.7.
Yeah. And then actually my salvations changed, I think oh, that's yours. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing. But yes, Salvation is one of those ones where I don't think it was a bad episode. I actually quite enjoyed it for the most part. The only
Mm,
problem was like with our rating system, like looking at it from the aspect that we are, it just
mhm.
ranks low because the monster lore, nothing new happened
Yeah.
in terms of like emotional impact. It wasn't really emotional episode. It wasn't, at least to me. It didn't really hit me very much. And then like the salt and sass and rewatchability are both low for me too because it's just like it's a setup episode. It's not meant to be amazing by itself. It's meant to carry into the next episode, and that's where it's great. If you combine the last two
Mhm.
episodes, fantastic. But as a standalone episode and based on our criteria, it's just it's whatever. It exists.
The categories we have are really just based on, like, technical slash,
Uh,
like, academic purposes, so they're not very, like, fun, but it's a good way to rate and review what we are seeing from a technical standpoint,
which is the
except
point of this podcast is to break it
yeah,
down in all those pieces, right?
but that doesn't mean Bugs was our least favorite episode, as you hear, like, you say all the time, the lake one is your least favorite despite Bugs and Salvation being having a lower rating.
I think Bugs is worse in terms of, like, just major flaws in the story, right? So I think Bugs
Mhm,
is a worse episode because it's more anticlimactic, it's worse story. Like, it's just told
mhm,
like, with the whole time jump thing we complained about in Bugs. Like, that was just, like, the most egregious thing, and, like, the whole resolution of the episode is just everyone moves out and hope no one moves back in, like, that's a weird resolution, right? But, like,
mhm,
at least the lake episode at least had a resolution, at least had story that made sense even though it frustrated me and, like, I didn't like
mhm,
it. It doesn't mean that it wasn't like it was poorly written or anything like that. I don't think it was poorly written. I think it didn't work for me, right? It was just a personal thing
yeah.
more than anything with the lake, while Bugs is just, like, bad. Like, I don't think there's a way around it. That one is just probably one of the worst ones so far, which again,
Right.
out of the 22 episodes, one being like 1 or 2 being like meh or bad is great average, you know? 20 pretty good ones is pretty solid.
Exactly. Now for our best rated episode, mine is Scarecrow
Not surprised.
at 4.43, and yours was weird because either we messed up on our mid-season or we weren't counting the pilot because the pilot is your highest rated at 4.43. But other than that, you have a tie with Skin and Asylum at
Mhm.
2 at 4.29.
Yeah, I don't know, what happened with the I think we just must have said it wrong, I'm guessing, or input it wrong in our mid-season one, is my guess.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think the pilot's really good because the pilot sets up a lot, and also I think a lot of it is honestly just like nostalgia and bias of like this first episode just kind of gets the ball going very well. I think they do a great job in the
Mhm.
pilot. But for Skin and Asylum, I think both of those I would agree with. Still, like those are some of my favorite ones. I really loved the practical effects in Skin to the point where
Mhm.
like that really did it for me. And also, I just like the concept of like the one of them going evil kind of thing is fun. Like, one of them playing an
Yeah.
evil character is really fun. That's why I really like John being possessed by Azazel too, because, like, he does it so well, and they're all good at being evil,
Mhm.
I think, as
Yes,
well, which is
exactly.
fun. And then Asylum, I really like the bait and switch of, like, the ghost actually trying to help, and, like, also the effects. The effects of that episode are really good too.
Yes, I do wanna say again for this, like, Scarecrow, while it may be my highest rated, Asylum is my favorite episode of this season.
Mhm. And
I
Scarecrow was very good too.
Yes, it is. But yeah, Asylum, it actually has, like, the horror feel, and you have,
Yes.
like, the jump scares and
Like, the glitchy cameras that, like, do, like,
yes.
the extra motion, which is always really fun.
Mhm. Yes. But so for our combined, we had a tie between Asylum and Scarecrow being the highest rated at
I
a
think that's good.
4.29.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to stand on. I think Asylum and
Mhm.
Scarecrow are definitely, standouts of this season in
Yes.
terms of just atmosphere and, like, the way they did it, right? 'Cause also Scarecrow could technically be an other too, because the people are kind of the problem there too.
Yes.
But it's just a fun dynamic. Like, they did a very good job of just, like, building tension and being, like, horror adjacent in these episodes. And I think that's also a big thing for us too,
Mm,
specifically, since we are big horror fans,
yes.
that the more horror it leaned into, the more we seem to like the episode, which is, makes sense.
And, as the seasons go on, that element kind of disappears, but it's still there.
Yeah, but the rest of this I can't wait till we get to the rest of the season because it just gets so much better in terms of character work and stuff. Man, I can't wait
Yeah.
for Crowley. He's my favorite character in the whole series. I cannot wait.
So overall, our end of season average was a 3.47, so almost a 3.5, so like above average. I'm interested to see where the other seasons stack up against this
Yes,
one. Like, is
I will
season
be too.
2 better or worse than season 1?
Yeah, it'll be
And
very exciting.
now that we have our, like, how we want to rate things down, like, because at the beginning of this season, I feel like we were a little bit more lenient, and then as we got past 10, 11, 12 episodes, we were getting harsher and harsher because we were like, "Hey, we're seeing the same things over and
Yeah,
over again." So, for season 2, it's like, I'm interested to see if we start over with the lenience or if we're just like, "Oh, we've already seen 11 vengeful spirits. Why are we doing this again?"
I
And
promise
like
you I will not be lenient on that. If there's more vengeful spirits, I will be calling it out. Because at this point, like, I don't think it's fair to well, I think it's fine to, like, look at everything, like, from a season by season thing, but I'm also gonna be using with all
Mhm.
the context of the previous season still, you know?
Yeah, that's true. One of the questions I have written down here for our discussion is who is your favorite character at the moment? And I'm laughing because I was trying to think, but really our only 2 characters are Sam and Dean, and I can't choose. People are always like, "Oh, I'm team Dean, I'm team Sam." When this was on TV, a lot of people were like, "In the beginning, you're team Sam," and then Sam, has a very bad, character development arc coming up, and then they're like, at that point, you become team Dean, and I'm like, I love them both for different reasons.
Yeah, I like them both for different reasons, but I think I like Dean more just because I like Dean's character more. I think it also has something to do with me resonating with him as, like, on a personal level more. Like,
Mhm.
that kind of his kind of mindset is more where mine always is too, of, like, defend your family, like, that whole thing where it's like, "It doesn't
Mhm.
matter, you drop everything for your family, you'll do anything to protect them and save them," that kind of vibe, and, like, putting a lot of pressure on himself to be the one to be in control, in the one solving
Mhm.
problems, doing the things. Like, that is a place that I am a lot, so I can resonate with him a lot more, so I feel a lot more empathy for Dean and his situation, I think.
Yeah, whereas I think I might, resonate with Sam a little more right now because he
Mm.
just wants to be his own person and not what his family expects him to be.
Yeah, for sure.
So
My least favorite character is definitely John.
it
Fuck John.
is.
He's the worst.
John. I don't John and Meg are the only other 2 characters that show up more than once.
I mean, Azazel kind of like we've known about him and we've seen him a couple episodes. We saw him in like the room with the one kid, and then we just saw him like possessing John. I do
Mhm.
like. I will say Jeffrey Dean Morgan, right?
Yeah.
He is an amazing actor though, and I love him
Mhm.
being evil. He is so good at being evil. That's why I said this during the episode too, and like this is why he's the bad guy in Walking Dead. He is
Mm.
so good at being a bad guy. Like he has like a good way of speaking and a good like tone of voice that just
Mhm.
sounds just like covered in like vitriol. Like he just says like couple sentences, and it's just like with such a shit eating grin too that just makes him
Mhm.
like feel slimy, and it's perfect for a demon. Like he can just
Yes.
nail that voice so well, and like that acting, like the body language. I love it.
Yes, me too,
Like the actor,
100%.
amazing. The character sucks dick.
Yeah, he's not great.
I
So
do like Meg a lot though. I will say I will give that too. I do like Meg
mhm.
as a character. I think Meg is really cool. Obviously, Bobby is up there too. Even though this first fiction we saw of Bobby, not fully fleshed out, not as good as he
Mhm.
will be, but still very good. And I'm excited to see more of Bobby.
Yes, me too. More Meg when her actress is replaced and more Bobby. Yeah, I can't wait to see them again. And then coming up in season 2, speaking of characters, I can't wait to see Ellen and Joe because
I
they're
was gonna say
introduced
that.
in season 2, which I thought that was
How?
4 or
That
5.
same,
I
same.
I knew it was before the first like, the end of the Kripke era, but I did not expect season 2.
No, either did I, because they were definitely recurring characters later on for sure,
Yeah.
and they're just really cool characters. I really enjoy them. I'm
Yes.
excited for them.
Yep, and more Bobby.
Yes, more Bobby, always more Bobby.
What are you looking forward to in season 2?
I'm very excited for just seeing where again, which episode surprised me in terms of like, "Oh, I didn't realize this was already." That'll be fun. That's always fun to do. I'm
Mhm,
mostly excited for the end of the season, spoilers. I'm so excited for the end of the season because it's where shit really starts going crazy.
mhm.
Because that's where, like we talked about, on our last episode where the gates of hell are still closed, the end of season 2, they get open, and that's where, like, hell literally breaks loose, and it's really fun. Because that's when, like, the
Yeah.
demons start taking over and doing more, and that's what I like about this episode, or this not episode, this, series. So,
Yes, exactly.
I'm looking forward to getting there, and I'm also just in general looking forward to seeing where this takes us, right? Because like, I know a general idea in my head where the timeline goes because, like I said, we've watched the series so many times, but
Mhm.
since it's all in my head out of order, I mean, it's always fun to rewatch it in order and be like, "Oh, that's when this happens," and stuff, so it's gonna be fun
Yes.
to see that. I'm curious to see also how many fucking ghosts there are. I'm sure there's plenty.
Season 2 also has the same thing as season 1 where the episode titles are, like, the problem. They haven't gotten creative with the episode titles yet. Some of them are, but, for the most part, they're just, like, 1 or 2 words.
There's one that I like, the title name is just, "What is and what should never be." I'm like, "That's vague as shit, I love it."
That should be it sounds like something that'd be said in, like, Game of Thrones, like,
It does.
dead men never die type of
Mhm.
stuff.
What
Um,
is and what should never be.
yes,
I'm gonna
exactly.
start, like, referring to that as, like I'm gonna make a D&D monster that's its, like, name.
Oh god, that's terrifying.
I know, it sounds good, doesn't it?
Yes. Ooh, alright. Well, anything else about our season 1 recap?
What are you looking forward to in season 2? You never go into your things.
Oh, yeah, I said, meeting Ellen and Joe,
Mhm.
but,
Anything else?
so I'm trying to think because it's hard since I've said I don't really remember every single thing that happens.
Mhm,
I think they have some more unique story types coming up. Like, we get introduced to an angel. I don't
mhm.
think it's Castiel. I think it's just a s
There's no way it's
it's
Castiel yet.
just an angel. So that'll be exciting to see.
Yeah, it brings in that half of the demon angel stuff, which is fun.
Yes, kinda setting up that story,
Setting up the Christian mythology to be even more of an important part later.
yes, exactly. So that will be fun to dive into. That's it.
Alrighty. Well, that brings us to the end of our season wrap up for season one. So thank you all for joining us this week as we discussed basically the entirety of season one. Next week, we'll be picking back up with our devastating cliffhanger of everyone being unconscious after a car crash with a demon. So whenever you're ready, we'll see you in the archive. Goodbye.
Bye.